Welcome back. We're talking about the Beef Checkoff, and I'm joined by NCBA Policy Division Chair Craig Uden. Thanks again for being with us. Now, before the break, Craig, we were talking about the Secretary of Agriculture's idea to provide a checkoff enhancement under the 1996 Generic Act, as opposed to simply changing the 1985 Beef Act in order. For viewers who may not be very familiar with the differences and nuances, maybe highlight some of the key differences between those two.
I'd be happy to, Kevin. The one thing that really sticks out is more bureaucracy in the 96. It's more top-down. Whereas the 85 has restrictions on how much government is involved. Administration costs could be as high as 15%. In the 96, we have a 5% cap. There's really no place in the 96 for state beef councils, which in 85, that's what it's all about, is the grassroots and the producers in their states bringing forth ideas into the checkoff system, bringing their issues and their dollars to the national, having programs developed, and then taking those programs back out into the country. Also in the 96 versus the 85, importers pay in 85, and in 96 they do not, or possibly would not. We also have an issue with how many is on the Cattlemen's Beef Board. Today it's limited. 96 it may be not, and also producers today are involved in the 85 Act, where non-producers could be put on this board in the 96 Generic Act.
Wow.
So there's quite a bit of differences, and it leads more to a top-down, government-driven versus grassroots involvement like the 85 Act.
You've mentioned producer involvement several times, and I guess I'd ask you, why do you think that is so important, and what risk do we run if there is less producer involvement and more governmental oversight?
Well, mainly the producers understand the checkoff with their state beef councils. As an example, when I was on the State Beef Council in Nebraska, we have a lot of cattle, but not a lot of people. So we garner a lot of dollars, but we necessarily don't need those dollars in our state. So we take that extra 50 cents that we had control of, and we'd partner on maybe through the Federation, maybe with another state. And we had, at the end of the day, we knew that the producers were deciding where that dollar was going and how best to use it. And it was all in coordination with the plan of work that was being laid out by the checkoff program.
So what you're really talking about here is really more governmental control over producer dollars. Is that right?
True. It is about grassroots versus government. And that grassroots is within the states, and it creates a strong state-national partnership that communicates up the chain and back down to the producer. And it's worked very well for a number of years. We have, like you said, $11 to 1 return, and if you equate that over the 10-year study, that's $4 billion we've added back to the industry. I think it's doing pretty well.
Yeah, it sounds like it's working pretty well, and producers from the last study indicate that they're pretty pleased with it. Eight
out of 10 producers are very satisfied with how their dollars being spent.
Yeah, makes the discussion even more interesting. So where do we go from here? What are the next steps from NCBA's standpoint about how we approach this checkoff enhancement?
We're going to stay engaged in the Beef Checkoff Working Enhancement Group, because we believe that producers are the ones that need to decide how this is going to be forwarded along. So that's kind of where we're at today. We're going to keep meeting with these other producer groups, absent with National Farmers Union, and we're going to try to move this thing forward so we can enhance or raise the checkoff for our producers out there.
Very good. I think it's a much needed effort. Thanks for your observations and for your highlights of where the process stands today, Craig.
Thank you, Kevin.
To follow NCBA's efforts on this important topic, just log on to beefusa.org.